Hello and welcome to the Six Hockey Player Interview Series, where we get the chance to sit down with some recent draftees from the 2021 OHL Priority Selection. This is an opportunity to dive into players' personal lives, learn about their playing styles, a little about themselves, and we've got a very interesting guest today, don't we?
We certainly do. Today, we're lucky enough to be joined by one of the top goaltenders in the GTHL. You saw him in 2019-20 playing with the Toronto Junior Canadiens, Antonino Rizzo, a recent selection of the Sarnia Sting in the 2021 OHL Priority Selection. Antonino, thank you for joining us, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure for sure. And I mean, we'll start out pretty simple. Just take us through that draft process. What was that like leading up to draft day? And then where were you when you got the call?
I didn't know I was getting drafted. I was sitting here in my living room with my family, and we were watching the TV for about a few hours. And when my name finally came up, I was in complete shock. I think it took me a little while to process it, and I had to read over my name a couple times just to make sure it was actually happening.
A great city to be drafted to, no doubt. Sarnia, you talked about your experience there. Who was the first person that you talked to after? Did you get a text? Was it a call? What was the first thing that happened after you had that moment of shock at first?
First thing that happened was I believe my mom came up and gave me a hug. And then in that moment, I got a call from my goalie trainer saying congratulations. And the calls and emails just kept flooding in.
It's a very exciting experience, I'm sure. But I mean, give us a little bit of insight as to what kind of goaltender you are for the fans in Sarnia that are going to get the chance to see you play in a couple of years.
I'm a real hard worker. I feel like you should work hard in practice and that will translate to the game. I'm also very superstitious to the point where I'll do something the same for a week straight if I've had a good game. And I feel like they should know that I want to win.
Okay, let's dive into that for a second. Is there something crazy that's happened with the superstitions, or is there one thing that stands out, or a story, or anything like that?
No, I just believe that when it comes to like preparation, everything should be the same. And I believe once I had this really good preparation going, I had a great game. And in the back of my mind, I just said, let's keep that going. And ever since before a game, I'll do the same thing.
Yeah, and it led to success in 2019-20 with the Toronto Junior Canadiens. You split time with Josh Branton, a draft pick for the Windsor Spitfires. And I mean, you two were very competitive with each other, splitting starts the whole way through the season. What was that like? I mean, you do lose out on playing time, but you get the chance to work right alongside another very stellar goaltender in the GTHL. Take us through what that was like.
Um, it was an amazing experience. It was awesome working with Josh. He was a great goalie. And we both were pretty close. We enjoyed working 50-50, and we always supported each other on the bench no matter what.
And that's kind of a similar situation as the Sarnia organization who have selected you. Of course, being 2005, you're a lot younger than the goalies that are currently in the system, but Ben Gaudreau right at the top and a few of the other O3s and older goalies. When you look at what the goaltending talent they have in the system, do you kind of see that as an opportunity to learn and work with other great talents, or what's your outlook on that sort of situation?
I feel that with a lot of older goalies, I'll be able to watch them and hopefully train with them one day. And I feel like it's a real big inspiration to be able to work underneath those great goalies who've also been drafted there and will also play games.
Yeah, and coming to fruition right now is the hard work and dedication that you've put in at the goaltending position. But I mean, how do you become a goaltender? There's only so many spots available in a given league, and I mean, was goaltender your first choice? Take us through how you decided to play between the pipes.
Well, I actually played in my hometown, Caledon. I was a center for about 3 years. And one day, coach called the team and said that goalie's injured and we need someone to play. And no one would step up. So I said, okay, I'll throw on the pads. And I believe I had a stellar game. It was a shutout. I believe we won 13-0. And after that, we only had one goalie at the time and he was injured. So my mom said, here, do you want to be the new goalie? And I said, well, why not? I always wanted to be a goalie, but my dad said I had to be a good skater first. And he said, now was the time.
Any regrets there?
I mean, no, I love being a goalie. Sometimes I want to know what it's like to score the game-winning goal. But then again, if I wasn't a goalie, I wouldn't know what it's like to make the game-winning save.
Yeah, and I mean, you have a lot of experience as a center. You mentioned a couple of years at that position. Do you think that there's any skill that translates, between being able to handle the puck outside of your crease and then when it comes time to, maybe make a tricky play along the boards as a goaltender? Do you think there's carryover there?
100%. I feel like as a goalie, you have to be able to play the puck well because when the puck is being rimmed in at really fast speed, you have to be able to handle it. And if there's pressure, you need to be able to make a play.
And as we can see that stunning cap you've got on and the sharp stripes on the shoulder, we take a look now at the full jersey in all its glory. Obviously, we've talked about the organization. I think Sarnia, the color scheme, is one of the nicest jerseys in the league as well. What did it feel like to put that on for the first time, and what was going through your head?
Well, I mean, it was absolutely amazing to get the cap and the jersey. I believe I couldn't even get the smile off my face for a solid 15 minutes. And then I ended up taking a bunch of pictures with my family, and it was an amazing, amazing experience to get this jersey.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. But let's take a look back at the GTHL for a second. And you spent years there. You were on JRC, and as a result, you went up against a lot of the top picks that Sarnia took. Their first three forwards, all coming from the GTHL in this recent draft. McDonnell, Lalkin, and Ethan Tierman, a guy you were supposed to play with in the season we lost to COVID. What can you say about those three forwards and your time seeing them on the other side of the ice?
Those three forwards are really fast. I believe playing against them helped elevate my game to the next level because I had to learn to adapt to their shot, their speed, and just their hockey sense in general. And they're absolutely amazing players on, and I've met them off the ice, and they're amazing there too.
Yeah, and that's one side of the coin. But on the other side, when you were with JRC, you played with some really high draft picks that are now going to have the opportunity to go up against you. A guy like Carson Rakoff, Luca Pinelli, Anthony Romani. Those are all guys that can put the puck in the back of the net. But now you get the chance to make the saves against them. What's that going to be like?
I feel like I have a little bit of an idea reading on where they like to shoot because of practicing with them for about a year. But then again, whenever they have the chance to bury it in the net, they always find a way.
Talking about your time with JRC as we take a look at some of the saves you made in some of those close games, what can you talk about your time in the GTHL or the playoffs specifically and how that's going to help prepare you for the next level?
I feel like the GTHL, it's going to help me prepare for the next level in a lot of ways. The fact that I was playing against some of the top 05s in the age group and how I'd have to adapt to their shots and how I had to translate and fix my game depending on how they were playing. I feel like it's really going to help me translate to the next level.
Yeah, and at that next level, it's not just kids that are your age. You're going to be going up against guys that are, old as 20, 21 years old, and they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger than the competition you faced up to this point. I mean, how are you working to make sure that you're ready when you do get the chance to go up against those guys that, might be a couple of years your senior?
I'm consistently training. There's no stop. I have to be ready, and I have to learn how to, when the time comes, adapt. Not even at practice, but mid-game, if I have to adapt to their shot or their speed, I have to continue training and continue working.
And speaking of that training, the biggest thing that we're missing out this year, the fans, the scouts, we haven't seen you play in over a year at a competitive level. With all the training you've done, the work since we last saw you, what's been the biggest development in your game that makes you maybe a different goalie now than what we saw last?
I feel like my biggest improvement through the year when you guys haven't watched me was I've grown a little, so I'm looking a little bigger in the net, and I feel like I'm cutting down the angle more. I've been working on timing the pucks, and I've been getting stronger and faster in the crease.
And we've talked about your time spent with the Toronto Junior Canadiens, but you were set to go play your U16 season with the Mississauga Rebels. Can you talk to us about what that transition was going to be like, the expectations you had, and maybe why you looked to join the Rebels?
I looked to join the Rebels because I was reached out by the coach, said he would give me a position, and he said he'd give me room to prove myself on the team. So I decided I'm going to take the Rebel spot, prove myself. But as we can see with this COVID season, it didn't happen. But I feel like I still did prove myself with whatever hockey we were able to play.
And Antonino, I do have a couple goalie-specific questions for you. So, I'll give you a scenario here. Down to about 30 seconds in a tie game in the third period. Would you rather make the big windmill glove save, or are you stacking the pads to take the shot away?
I'd much rather take the stack the pads, take down more than that.
It's always fun to watch the way that goaltenders act in that way. And it is a high pressure scenario every time you're out on the ice. Your team relies on you. And what is it like for you adapting to all that pressure? We talked about you didn't start out as a goalie originally, but you grew into the position. And the pressure's always on your shoulders between the pipes. What's that transition been like for you, not only as a player, but, as a person as well, learning to deal with those expectations?
I find that being a goalie, there's a lot of pressure on you, and you have to learn to adapt in high intense situations, whether to stay calm or to completely break and become all over the place in the crease. And I find myself as a real calm goalie, and I feel that translates into my life. I feel like no matter what pressure I'm under, I'm able to stay calm and just think it through.
Yeah, and a calming presence is important on the ice, but it's important off the ice as well. Antonino, when you're in the locker room, do you keep to yourself, as most goalies do? Do you keep things quiet, or do you get more involved? Are you giving the speech to fire the boys up?
No, I'm not that type of personality. Before a game, I'll just put my own headphones in. I'll have my music playing and I'll just get ready. Won't talk to many people before the game, but after the game, I feel like I get more involved like I would at a practice, and I feel like I talk to the boys more.
And what's in those headphones? Is it something to get you energetic, or is it something more calm like you've talked about?
I'm an old school type of guy from my dad. I prefer 90s alternative rock. I feel like that really gets me going.
That's a great genre choice for sure. And you are going to be moving away. Caledon to Sarnia is a bit of a road trip for the family, I'm sure. You ever been to Sarnia?
I've never stepped foot in Sarnia. I've heard of it. I believe I've passed by it a couple of times on my way to some hockey tournaments, but never been in it.
And speaking to those fans of the Sting, if you were to sell yourself in just a handful of lines to a Sting fan that wants to know what they got out of this goalie they drafted, what would you say a fan of Sarnia would have to look forward to seeing out of your game down the line?
I feel like they should see a guy who loves to win. I'm a very competitive kid. No matter what it is, a family event, something with my friends, I'll always fight on if it was a goal or not, or if that touchdown counted. But I feel like Sarnia should know that I'm a very competitive player and I want to win.
Well, Antonino, this has been fantastic getting to sit down with you, getting to know a little bit more about you, and giving Sting fans an insight into the goaltender that they drafted. This has been another episode in the player interview series from the Six Hockey with recent Sarnia Sting draft pick Antonino Rizzo. For Drew Frank, my name is Liam Crothers, and until next time, we'll see you then.